Hello, fellow Guardians, and welcome back to the channel. Episode 2, Revenant, is now underway, and with it, some fantastic new exotics and new artifact mods to shake up the meta. In this episode, things are highly focused on Stasis, Arc, and Void. And if you've been following my channel, you guys know I love Stasis. Now, I usually explain a little about the build before I get into things, but this time, I'm just gonna let this next clip speak for itself. Damn, this build is great. Would you believe me if I said it wasn't a prismatic build? Let's break it down. Starting with the subclass, this is an Arc build, and we're using Fist of Havoc as our super. Now, if you wanted more of a single target DPS super, you can always swap to Thunder Crash. But without the use of Caress of Falling Star, Thunder Crash just doesn't hit the same. No pun intended. And let me just say, this season came with an update to Onslaught, and Fist of Havoc really shines in areas that have lots and lots of ads. The movement you have, along with all of our other bonuses, you are an ad-clearing machine. For our abilities, I chose to go with Thrusters, just for that little extra bit of mobility, because the entire idea behind this build is just to never stop moving. You are a Juggernaut. You are a tank. You are speed.
I am speed.
Our melee is going to be Seismic Strike, and the grenade is going to be the Flashbang Grenade. Now, before I explain why I chose these, let me go over the aspects. First is Knockout. Critically wounding a target or breaking their shield infuses your melee attack with arc energy and increases your melee range and damage for a short time. Defeating targets with melee attacks makes you amplified and restores a portion of your health. Defeating more powerful combatants will increase the amount of health restored. With the latest sandbox changes this season, Titans got some well-needed buffs to a lot of their subclasses. Knockout in particular had a previous nerf reverted, so now melee kills cancel health and shield stun. This will just basically allow you to regenerate health immediately instead of there being a short delay. The other aspect is Touch of Thunder. Your Flashbang, Pulse, Lightning, and Storm grenades have enhanced functionality. But the part we really care about is the bonuses to Flashbang. The Flashbang grenade emits an additional blinding flash on bounce. Unlike most grenades in Destiny, the Flashbang acts very similar to like a frag grenade. It'll bounce a few times before actually exploding, and with Touch of Thunder, the grenade will not only blind on detonation, but it's also going to send out blinding flashes every time it bounces off a surface. And the reason we went with Seismic Strike over the other melee options is that it's the only melee that applies an arc debuff. Thunderclap and Ballistic Slam do not. You'll see why applying arc debuffs is so important as we get further into the build. But before we continue on to the fragments, let me talk about the exotics first. Firstly, we're going to be utilizing the brand new Season Pass weapon, Alethinium?
Can we call you Al, or maybe just Din? Or how about Laddie? Sounds like here, boy.
This is the second primary exotic grenade launcher in the game, along with Fighting Lion. Following the Vampire Hunter theme of this episode, it looks very, spiky? Vampire-y? It looks like a spike you would use to kill a vampire. Come on, you guys know what I was trying to say here. But its intrinsic exotic trait is called Harvester Spike. This weapon fires a Harvester Spike projectile. Dealing final blows with this weapon creates a single vestige at the target's location. Impaling powerful combatants with the projectiles creates a steady stream of vestiges from the target. As you can see from the gameplay, killing a single target nets you one vestige. Scoring a multi-kill can net you multiple vestiges, and a direct hit to a more powerful combatant like a yellow bar will net you 4 vestiges. But what's the point of these vestiges, you ask? That leads us into our other trait, Vestigial Alchemy. This weapon gains energy when picking up vestiges. Holding reload with at least 50% energy will cause your next projectile to create an ammo brick for you and your allies on impact. Special ammo bricks are created at 50% energy, while heavy bricks are created at 100% energy. A nice little detail on the design of this weapon is you can cycle through the ammo bricks once charged. You can tell which one you have loaded by the color of the sight on the weapon. Normally it's blue, but it'll change to green for special and purple for heavy. Remember how I said this wasn't a prismatic build? Well, what if I told you that you could get the benefits from stasis on an arc subclass? Introducing Blast Wave Striders. These exotic boots are the newest addition to the Titan arsenal, and their exotic trait is also called Blast Wave Striders. Gain damage resistance against your explosives. Defeat targets to charge this armor. Once charged, slide or deal explosive self-damage to rocket jump backwards and blast deadly shrapnel projectiles that spawn stasis crystals on impact. Charged rocket jumps grant frost armor. These two exotics have some of the best synergy in Destiny right now, due to the fact that the vestiges from Elethanium also charged Blast Wave Striders. With each vestige you collect, you can charge both meters simultaneously. You're getting resistance to self-explosive damage, which is perfect since we're using a grenade launcher, and you don't ever have to worry about running out of ammo because you're using a primary. On top of that, you're gaining damage resistance from the frost armor. And for the first time in a very long time, I actually found myself taking off prismatic, and I was able to utilize other key components from the arc subclass. Speaking of the arc subclass, onto the fragments. You're going to need Spark of Resistance. This is going to grant us a 25% damage resistance when surrounded by 3 or more enemies. With this build revolving around constantly moving in and out of enemies, this will be extremely handy to keep us alive. This will also stack with Frost Armor, which is a 22.5% damage resistance at ×5. Now, if you guys are confused on how to stack buffs and debuffs, I have some other builds which go much more in depth on how to stack things in Destiny, so definitely go check those out if you guys need help. Spark of Shock. Your arc grenades jolt targets. Now, our flashbang grenade not only blinds enemies, but it's also going to jolt enemies as well. This will synergize with the new artifact mods, which I'll talk about more in a second. Spark of Recharge. When critically wounded, your melee and grenade energy regenerate more quickly. That's pretty self-explanatory here, guys. More melee energy, more grenade energy, means more blinding and more jolting. And finally, Spark of Frequency. Melee hits increase your equipped weapon's reload speed and stability for a short duration. Since we're using a breach-loaded grenade launcher, that reload and ready speed will be even faster, making it so that we can pump out those stasis shots, making more shards, giving us more vestiges to charge the ammo generation, as well as charge that special effect from Blast Wave Striders. You guys see the synergy here yet? Oh, but wait, we're not done yet. Like I said before, this episode's artifact is heavily focused on stasis buffs, and in my opinion, these are the best mods to run to help you maximize your lethality while running any type of arc and stasis builds. Starting with one with Frost. While Frost Armor is active, stasis weapons gain increased reload speed and stability, further increasing those boosted stats to Elethanium. Rapid Impacts. Dealing damage with a grenade launcher temporarily increases the reload speed of the grenade launcher. Do I really need to explain that one? Trace Evidence. Rapid precision hits or rapid final blows on targets affected by jolt or blind will generate ionic traces. This is a key component to this build. Since all of our abilities jolt or blind, you should be making ionic traces left and right. And ionic traces grant 12.5% grenade energy, 12.5% melee energy, and 15% class ability energy each time you pick one up. If you boost this through the new tonic system, you'll also pick up an armor charge for each ionic trace. Armor of Aramis. While Frost Armor is active, taking critical damage from combatants causes you to emit a freezing burst. Now, Along with your increased ability regen from Spark of Recharge, you'll emit a Freezing Blast, similar to the small Warlock Freezing Rift when critically wounded. Boosting this will increase the radius and strength of that burst. Crystalline Converter. Shattering stasis crystals releases shards of ice that damage and slow targets. After using a tonic to boost this, you'll increase the damage of that shatter. Retinal Burn. Rapid arc weapon precision hits consume an armor charge to blind targets. There is a bunch, and I mean a bunch, of great arc weapons that will be fantastic options in this episode. Things like Prosecutor, Corasion, Aquilos, Horror's Least, the new pulse rifle Vantage Point. Like, there's a ton. Pick your favorite, because rapid precision hits will take that armor charge and blind targets. If you boost it with a tonic, instead of just blinding the target you hit, it's going to emit a blinding burst around you, just like a flashbang grenade would. Brain Freeze. Frozen combatants become surrounded by a chilling fog, which slows combatants that aren't already slowed. And weapons with Dark Ether Reaper origin trait deal more damage to frozen combatants. And to finish everything out, we have Conductive Cosmic Crystal, which says your arc abilities, void abilities, and weapons with Dark Ether Reaper origin trait do bonus damage to targets that are affected by a stasis debuff. Beautiful synergy here, guys, between our stasis perks and our arc abilities. Just everything's going to increase your lethality and create one hell of a fun loop. Armor mods can really play into whatever you want to prioritize here. I felt that a good balance of melee and grenade mods were sufficient enough to keep my abilities going, along with all the ionic traces that I was picking up. There are also a bunch of armor-charged mods that you can definitely play around with as well. If you want to be a literal electric tank that can freeze and blind everything, then this is the build for you. You can very easily handle every type of champion, as well as hold your own against some of the new Bane enemies. I highly recommend using this in the new Onslaught mode, or any other content that's got lots and lots of enemies. Alright guys, that's the build. If I missed anything, or you have any suggestions on how to make the build even more potent, let me know in the comments down below. And if you haven't already, do me a huge favor and smash that subscribe button, as well as the bell next to it to stay up to date with all of my latest content. If you guys are just jumping into the episode and you're looking for a place to talk shop, maybe discuss some builds, or maybe show off your new fashion, don't forget to drop by the Discord. The link for that's down in the description. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for coming and watching, but that's all from me for now. Wolf, out!